What's up and welcome to the Sam Dracula channel, a Charlotte Hornets fan channel. This is the first Hornets video I'm doing in my new house. If you missed it, I made a video about where I've been this summer and what's been taking up my time. If you want to check that out, go check that out. But this is officially my first Hornets video in my new house, and I'm very excited about it. Preseason starts next week, and we got to talk about this team because I've seen a lot of the national power rankings for this team, and it's very clear listening and reading the national coverage of this franchise that no one outside of this market really pays attention to what's going on. The good thing is, though, I'm here. I live in Charlotte, and I pay attention. If you're new around here, hit the subscribe button. I make Hornets videos, and I do live streams during Hornets games. So if you want to come hang out during those games, hit subscribe, turn the bell on so you don't miss any of the content I produce. Context is everything in sports. It's easy to get caught in the moment, but I think it's important to take a step back and really take it all into context, right? We're going into year 5 of this franchise's rebuild post Kemba, right? Kemba left. MKG was bought out later that year. Marvin Williams was bought out later that year, right? The next year, Batum was waived or stretched, right? We saw Zeller and Biz cycle out. We're in year 5 of this. And up until this point, it's been like real slow incremental growth until last year where everything fell off, right? In a very big way. We'll talk about why that happened in a second. But it's going in the wrong direction right now. It's going down. Can this team go up? Will they flatten out? Will it get worse? In this video, I'm going to give you my prediction on where this Hornets team fits into the grander scheme of things in the Eastern Conference. Last year, the Hornets were terrible. Why? Why'd that happen? Well, I think there's 3 main reasons, right? Number 1, injuries. This team had nagging and repeated injuries all year long. Like PJ Washington played in the most games last year. No other starter came close to his games played. The key guys just weren't there. Lamelo, Rozier, Hayward, Martin. Like the things you need to build a team, right? The starters and role players just gone. The second reason, lack of depth. If those injuries didn't happen, the lack of depth would have still been an issue if Lamelo, Terry, Hayward, all those dudes played all the games. It wasn't a deep team. Last year's roster had a lot of young, unproven guys that I think have bright futures in the NBA. It just wasn't their time yet. And if the injuries didn't happen, I think they still would have been exposed as not being ready, which is fine when you're thinking about the larger scheme of things, the larger plan of building a team. You're going to have seasons, years where you're going to be relying on younger guys and trying to figure out what you have and what you don't have, who's worth keeping and who's not worth keeping. I think we got a clear picture of that from last year and this offseason. Guys like, knowing what we know now, guys like Bouknight and Kai Jones don't seem worth investing in, where guys like Bryce McGowens and JT Thor are. Reason number 3, the criminal justice system. So all that led to just a terrible team on both ends of the floor. Truly, the team was the 2nd worst shooting team, 3rd worst in points per game, bottom 10 in defense. They're respectable on the glass, though, but you miss a lot of shots, a lot of opportunities for rebounds. So that's a bit of a iffy stat, but a win's a win. So that was the past. What happened since? Well, Michael Jordan, the greatest of all time, he's out of here as majority owner. Svi Mykhailiuk, gone. Kelly Oubre, gone. Dennis Smith Jr., gone. Lamelo Ball, extended. PJ Washington, extended. Theo Maledon, retained as a 2-way. 27 days and 27 nights, returns on a 1-year deal. Brandon Miller, drafted 2nd overall. Nick Smith, drafted 27th. James Najee, drafted and stashed. Amari Bailey, drafted. Leaky Black signed as an undrafted rookie. Frank Ntilikina signed. Edmund Sumner signed. And Kai Jones went full Marbury. That was the summer in quick fire fashion. Do you think the Charlotte Hornets front office did enough to fix those mistakes, fix the issues from last year? and prepare this team to be better this season? Let me know in the comments. Let's look at some keys for success for the Hornets this year. Like, what's it going to take to break 30 wins, to break 40 wins this year? It's going to take a lot, but what's it going to take? Let's start with the franchise himself, Lamelo Ball. What does his health and what does his maturity look like in year 4? Lamelo Ball is no different than any other young, promising player. You want to see that incremental growth year to year. Can year 4 Lamelo Ball emerge as a leader? He says he wants to do it, but what does it look like? Can he stay healthy? He's wearing ankle braces this year. He had 3 major ankle injuries last year. What does a healthy Lamelo Ball look like in year 4? If the Charlotte Hornets have any chance of becoming a real team in the Eastern Conference, they need Lamelo Ball to make a serious leap, similar to the ones we've seen from De'Aaron Fox and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, like guys who went from being good players to great all-NBA players. Those guys did it in year 5 and year 6, respectively, I believe. This is year 4 for LaMelo, so they're not on the same exact trajectory. But whenever the time comes for this team to be a serious team, LaMelo's going to have to be an all-NBA player to lift this team up, because there's still a lot of question marks, as we're going to talk about here as we go through these players. And he can do it, by the way. I think LaMelo can become an all-NBA player at some point. Gordon Hayward, contract year. Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward is going to be 34 years old at the end of the season. His days of getting long-term money are over, unless he somehow pulls off an 18-5-3 season and he plays 60 games, something he hasn't done since 2019. He'd be doing himself, his agent, and this team, the Charlotte Hornets team, massive favors. Like, legitimately, if somehow Gordon Hayward was able to just be like, oh, boom, time machine, ready to go once again, that would lift this whole team up. And who knows what happens in the offseason, but at minimum, at worst case, the team is better because Hayward's in a contract year and he's miraculously healthy. Like every year with Hayward, health is at the top of every list of concerns, but now you have the contract year thrown into the mix. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out, because you never know what could happen in the contract year. Cody Martin. What's up, bro? Like, what's going on with Cody Martin? He's day-to-day going into preseason. He hasn't played since January. That's when his last game was. Played in 7 games last year. I'm a big fan of Cody Martin. I think he's a role player that every team in the league could use. They need his toughness. They need his defense. You know, Charlotte doesn't have a lot of guys that will fight anybody. Like, genuinely, when you have those games where things get scrappy, they don't have a lot of dudes that will get mixy on the floor. Cody Martin is one of those guys. This team looked soft at times last year, and it's because they didn't have Cody. And there has to be an element of him seeing his brother ball out at times in the playoffs. Because I still contend Cody is better than Caleb. It's just Cody has one leg. Miles Bridges, he's going to miss the first 10 games of the year because of domestic violence. And yeah. All right, Charlotte. On the floor, legitimate two-way player. Like, playmaker, stopper, energy guy, leader. Like, Miles Bridges, the basketball player, checks a lot of boxes, and a lot of teams could use him. So he's here. He's in Charlotte for at least 1 year. I would put money on him being a Laker next year. Not to do with anything, but like Hayward, contract year for Miles Bridges. So that's just something to keep an eye out. He hasn't played basketball in a very long time. What does his condition look like? All right, we'll get a preview of it in the preseason, I believe, and then he'll miss the 10 games and be back in the mix. How does Clifford get him in the rotation? We saw a lot of success from him when he was playing the 3 along with PJ, like at the 4, letting him play make. So how Miles Bridges is used is going to be interesting for basketball reasons only. Brandon Miller, the 2nd pick in the draft. Is he going to be that guy? Is he going to show why he went 2nd overall? Why the Hornets picked him? Can he play guard? Can he defend the perimeter? Because the Hornets need that. They need that. Imagine a fully formed Brandon Miller playing next to Lamelo Ball. Like, if just that, the size alone in that backcourt would be insane. And maybe bringing Terry off the bench. That's not going to happen. I don't even know if Brandon Miller's going to start day one. Genuinely. I think we're going to see LaMelo, Terry, Hayward, PJ, and Mark Williams as a starting five, and Brandon Miller as the sixth or seventh man, depending on how Cliff is feeling on the day. But eventually, I don't think we're going to see Brandon Miller do much of anything initially just because he's a rookie. But by the time the season is in full form, talking January, hope to see what we're going to see from him in the future, those little hints, those signs of what he's capable of. Because I think he's capable of a lot. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of drive. The question is he going to be Paul George or not? Like, he put that on himself. He's wearing that, literally wearing that number. Is he going to be that guy or not? If he is, fantastic. Hornets hit a home run on draft day. If not, it's going to be an L. But hey, Hornets seen a lot of L's, so it wouldn't be anything new. But I'm excited. I saw a lot of promising things from him in Summer League and preseason especially. I'm very excited to see that, how he operates. And then again, regular season, we'll see how it all plays out when the games count for real. The last person I want to talk about specifically is Mark Williams. A full year of Mark Williams at center could be really something special, man. He has opportunity of all the young players to have the biggest contribution to any success that they have. Because Mark Williams could change again. I'm looking forward to seeing him evolve as a rim protector, a screener, a rebounder. Last year he was flirting with the jumper. Can he show more signs of that? I don't need him shooting threes. Do not get me wrong. But it'd be great if he can keep the other team honest. The Hornets haven't had a center that needs to be defended outside of the key in a very long time. And just from a spacing perspective alone, having to honor Mark Williams, having to defend when he's faced up outside the paint, that's a dynamic that this franchise has been missing for a while. And Nick Richards has a little shot in him too. But Mark Williams specifically with the size and height and reach, if you can start hitting some mid-range jumpers here and there, again, don't need him shooting, but just bringing his defender out of the lane to defend him will open up passing opportunities and cutting lanes. There's a lot of potential with Mark Williams in year two. So I'm here for it. I'm very much here for it. This year's roster is better than last year's roster, I think by a decent margin, because basically they traded Oubre and Dennis Smith Jr. for Brandon Miller, Miles Bridges, and Frankie Smokes, right? And then all the young guys are 1 year older and 1 year better. And so I think in totality, I think this roster is better than last year's. And then you get the question about availability and injuries and things like that, foul trouble, all that stuff. How will it all play out and mix up? We have new owners with the Charlotte Hornets, and we also have Steve Clifford in a somewhat pseudo contract year. He signed a 3-year deal. Year one and year two. I don't know why I did it backwards, but year one and year two are guaranteed. Year three is a team option. Next year is a team option for Steve Clifford. So he's playing for that option. He's coaching for that option. And so you look at Bridges, Hayward, and Clifford. These guys got their futures in mind here, right? They're trying to show off a little bit. So how does that affect the greater good? This is going to be a big question to see as these games roll out over the course of the season. Everything I just finished talking about, there's just too many of those question marks that I don't really feel good about, or just things I'm wondering about. Maybe after a week, all those questions will go away. So I feel confident that they're better than Detroit and Washington for sure. And I think the Hornets were going to be somewhere in the mix with Brooklyn, Indiana, and Chicago. I think those teams are going to be fighting for the 9-10, in that area, 9-10 and 11 probably, in that zone. And I think the Hornets are going to be in that mix. But it's going to be really tough, but I think a lot of fun. I'm going to lock in my prediction for the Hornets this year. I think they finish as an 11 seed. I think their ceiling's a 10 seed. Their basement is 12, 13. They're not going to be the worst team in the Eastern Conference. As long as the Wizards exist, the Hornets will never be the worst team in the Eastern Conference. I think 11 is a good landing spot, and they could build on that going into next year when guys like Hayward are off the books, and they could have some more flexibility to do some things. Where do you think the Hornets finish this year? Let me know in the comments down below. But until next time, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.